Choose your destiny. Flawless victory.
What's going on, guys? LordKing here again, back with another, MMA boxing related video. I wanted to go over the biggest source of news to ever come out of the MMA boxing community for maybe the past good few years, to be honest, and then I want to do a very, very quick, brief breakdown of the upcoming UFC Singapore. Basically, if you are unaware, Mayweather McGregor is happening. It is now official. It's happening August 26th. And it will be at £154. So in McGregor's terms, he should be able to make that weight incredibly easily, which is basically lightweight. Now for Mayweather, that will be, obviously with different organisations, the weight actually varies on the actual weight class. So I believe it could be either super middleweight, or it could be super welterweight, or junior light middleweight. So depending on the organisation that he's fighting with, it will be one of those. So the real reason for this is the weight class that is below that is £147. Now at £147 you can use 8-ounce gloves, whereas at £154 there is use of 10-ounce gloves. So now this is a relatively big sort of difference. Obviously, to 8 to 10 ounces to normal people doesn't really sound like too much, but when in terms of boxing, it's a fair bit of extra padding, to be honest. So it can actually make a significant sort of difference. Now again, as I was mentioning, this fight will be at £154, so this will be relatively natural sort of weight for McGregor and maybe Mayweather. Having said that, McGregor is only about an inch taller than Mayweather, maybe an inch or 2 inches or so. So this is, a lot of people seem to think McGregor is incredibly bigger. I think he's a lot bigger in terms of actual stature when it comes to actual physical size, but I think height-wise it's going to be relatively even, to be honest. Now, the main way that I can see this going is I'm putting this as the most one-sided fight in history to Floyd Mayweather. It's the only way I can compare this to put it into almost layman's terms is if people are aware of maybe athletes, say a decathlete, someone who does 100 meters in part of his events, or maybe a 200 meter and does part of his events as that, and then he's relatively good at it. It's basically like someone like that then challenging, say, Usain Bolt to a 100 meter or a 200 meter sprint, because they're good in their respective field at what they do in the 100 or 200 meters. They don't think they can challenge the Usain Bolt sort of thing. Now, it's not as easy as that, because in fighting, as I've mentioned so many times before, MMA math, or boxing math in a sense, is not a thing. So anyone can win at any time. A puncher's chance is usually a great chance. So McGregor can win in almost any way, but the best way to put it is, as I just mentioned, where it is almost a decathlete sort of racing against the likes of Usain Bolt, because they're good in the decathlon, they win in the decathlon every time. They think they can then beat the professional at it. Let's not forget, Floyd Mayweather is 49-0. Despite being 40 years old, he has absolutely lived and breathed this boxing life for his, since he was, God knows, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Even though he's retired, or been retired for a while now, since the Manny Pacquiao fight, Andre Berto fight, he is always training. He always stays in great shape. He never lets himself get too loose. He doesn't drink or smoke, all those sorts of things. So he always stays in absolutely great health. And obviously McGregor is 27, 28 years old, in the peak of his life, and we all know the sort of things that he can do. Again, as I mentioned, the way I expect this to go is Mayweather is going to box him for 12 rounds, as he normally does, with the likes of these heavy hitters, like same with Pacquiao, same with Canelo. Everyone thought these heavy hitters would get to him, but then obviously he neutralizes them instantly. I believe this fight will be relatively one-sided to Mayweather. McGregor can win, but I will not put the biggest sort of chance on it. I'd say 99 times out of 100, Floyd Mayweather will win this fight. Then maybe 1 time out of 100, there is that chance that McGregor can win. So never count it out, but McGregor could win this fight. But I will put my money on Floyd Mayweather. I shall upload eventually a video of Conor McGregor doing some boxing sparring as well, just to give you guys a bit of an insight as to how good he is. Let's go into UFC Singapore, Holm versus Correa. Now, Holly Holm versus Betch Correa is a relatively interesting sort of fight, to be honest. Mainly because what I've kind of established this card as is almost the revival card. In a sense, we have some people who are who were champions, and some people who were quite legends, kind of declining a little bit in their previous fights. So I see this almost as a way to bring them back into the limelight, and I feel like the UFC has almost assembled a card for these people in quite a sort of low key sort of way, and almost to revamp their careers into back as to what they used to be. So looking actually into the card itself, as you can obviously see on the screen, we have Holm versus Correa, which is the main sort of card. Then we also have the likes of Andrei Arlovsky versus Tybura. Now Andrei Arlovsky being a former champion, Tybura upcoming. Dong-Yun Kim versus Covington, two people that are relatively rising. Both have their sort of great aspects to their game. Now, the main fight, I think, on this card, for me personally, even though it's not the main event, is Tarek Saffiedine versus Rafael Dos Anjos. This is Dos Anjos' debut at welterweight. So now, being the former lightweight champion, this is going to be almost one of his biggest tests yet, having struggled a lot making weight to lightweight before. This is probably his actually biggest fight to date, apart from his actual title shot and his defending his title. I mean, again, he's trying to revamp his career. So after his most recent losses, losing to Eddie Alvarez in the title shot, and then again to Tony Ferguson. So should he lose this debut at welterweight to a person who is not sloppy at all, Tarek Saffiedine is incredible kickboxing and a former Strikeforce champion. So should he lose this fight, then it could almost be time to rethink his career a hell of a lot more than what he is doing at the moment. Let's look into Holm versus Correa. I'm going to go over stats basically in this fight. I'm going to try and keep it short because obviously I did the Mayweather McGregor thing, but I'm going to try and keep it short. So let's go over Holm versus Correa. Now, as you can see, in terms of record, they're relatively well matched. But Holly Holm, what she does take is that she is a former, UFC champion #1. She obviously beat Ronda Rousey with the vicious head kick, as we all know. But then also, apart from that, she is also a former boxing champion as well. She's incredibly crisp striking. As you can see from the KO, TKO sort of percentages, Holm takes this ridiculously. Betch Correa normally goes to decision. Also, Betch Correa's basic thing is, I think she deems herself as a boxer, but obviously she got outboxed by Ronda Rousey, and my personal feeling towards Ronda Rousey's boxing is not so good. So again, as I mentioned, I think this is a revamp sort of fight. I believe Holly Holm is going to win this incredibly comfortably. She has a lot of things on her side. The record itself doesn't really speak for itself, but in terms of KO, TKO rate, she also has the reach on her side, quite a big reach advantage. She kicks relatively well as well. Now, these sort of stats don't really tell the full tale. It shows Betch Correa throwing more significant strikes per minute, whereas I think Holly Holm's strikes have more significant damage, as shown by her actual KO, TKO sort of rate. Grappling, I don't really think will be an issue in this fight either, but I give this one to Holm pretty easily, to be honest, personally. Tarek Saffiedine, Rafael Dos Anjos. Again, as I mentioned again, I believe this is Rafael Dos Anjos' revamped fight. Now, this is no way by any means an easy fight for Dos Anjos. Tarek Saffiedine is incredibly good and a former Strikeforce champion. But as you can see, looking into the records, RDA's record is fairly more experienced, to be honest. KO, TKO rate. RDA is more, Rafael Dos Anjos, is more of a grinding sort of fighter. He puts the pace on and puts the pressure on a hell of a lot. He walks forward and he'll throw, almost come with a lot of punches in bunches sorts of thing. He's a very grinding fighter. He'll try and take people down as well. He's great jiu-jitsu, a lot of power in his hands. So again, he's one of those fighters that he pushes the pace a lot and makes you tired and make you do things you don't want to do. Tarek Saffiedine, as you can see, all of his striking stats, all these sorts of things. The reach is obviously quite well matched up. Apart from the leg reach, Saffiedine has very good legs and kicks. But in terms of significant strikes, it's about less than one difference. Accuracy is pretty close as well. They're both pretty well matched up in the sense where the actual strikes will be landed. And what I'm expecting is I think RDA will win this with his grinding, pushing the pace sort of attitude. I believe he will take Tarek Saffiedine down, and I think he's going to grind him out on the ground for a good amount of time, and maybe eventually go for a submission in the later rounds. As you can see, a 2.33 takedown accuracy average. He with a pretty good accuracy as well. RDA has some very, very good takedowns. The only problem with RDA is he can get a little bit sloppy sometimes, as seen in his Eddie Alvarez fight where he did get knocked out, and obviously the Tony Ferguson thing as well. He did get shown up. Andrei Arlovsky, Marcin Tybura. Andrei Arlovsky, I should not need to explain, to be honest, who he is. To put it into very, very simple terms, he is maybe one of the best, maybe the most legendary UFC heavyweight of all time. There's obviously Fedor Emelianenko was not a UFC fighter, but Andrei Arlovsky probably is the UFC's representation of him. He has fought a hell of a lot of people, and he is no doubt a future Hall of Famer. Tybura is an upcoming gentleman here, and they both are, they're fighting for their career, to be honest. KO TKO rate, it favours Arlovski. He was known for his power. He still has a hell of a lot of power in his hands. Tybura, good submission sort of percentage, a relatively good KO TKO percentage as well. These gentlemen do not go to decisions, so I do not expect it to this time either. Reach and leg reach is relatively similar. The only thing I'm worried about in the actual striking department is that Arlovski is relatively weathered, in the sense he's been knocked out quite a few times now and he's relatively old. So should he get hit by Tybura with a good shot, it could put him out cold, to be honest. Let's hope not. Significant strikes landed per minute, both very, very similar. Accuracy favours Tybura slightly. Absorbed, Arlovski does absorb slightly more. Again, he used to have that kind of brawling aspect to his fighting, so if he does get clipped, he could be put out, but I hope not, because no one likes to see that. Takedowns, I don't think this is going to be a matter of takedowns this fight. I think they're going to try and keep it standing. I think both fighters have something to prove. Arlovski is trying to prove his career is still alive, and Tybura is trying to show that he can beat the best. Takedown accuracy and takedowns defended is very, very good, to be honest. So it shows. I think this fight will stay standard. I give this one to Arlovski, simply because I think he has the experience and better sort of hands. Dong-Hyun Kim, Colby Covington. This is the fight people are almost sleeping on a little bit. Dong-Hyun Kim has some incredible sort of judo. He has some very, very good striking as well. Both big sort of guys. Covington is a great wrestler and a grinding sort of fighter as well. Records kind of speak for themselves. Dong-Hyun Kim is kind of a double Covington's record, to be honest. But as you can see from everything, KO TKO rates, they're not the highest, but they're pretty good. Decisions, both go to decision. Covington has a higher submissions percentage. Reach, Dong-Hyun Kim, he favours that one there. This is where I think it's good. The grappling, I think, is going to be the most important aspect, to be honest, which we'll get to in a second. Significant strikes, both relatively very similar. Accuracy is incredibly similar, to be honest. The absorbed is both relatively low, and defense is pretty damn high for both parties in this sort of situation. As I did mention, Covington has some great wrestling, some great grinding wrestling, and Dong-Hyun Kim has incredible judo. I believe he's a 4th Dan black belt in judo, which is... Judo isn't necessarily the hardest sort of one to get and gain your black belt. A lot of people say if you're very dedicated, you can get your black belt in 1 year of judo, but this is... 4th Dan is kind of where you become quite serious. Now here's where look at these sort of numbers. Takedown average 6.79. Am I reading that right? 6.79 takedowns. Colby Covington, he takes this one. That is his style. Obviously Dong-Hyun Kim, 3 takedowns as well is bloody high as well. But obviously takedown accuracy is pretty great. Takedowns defended, I don't think Covington's ever had to defend a takedown. These guys, I think it's going to be a grappling tournament. If Dong-Hyun Kim can defend Covington's takedown, he may take the win here. So I'm going to give it to him. That is the card, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed this I think it's quite a brief breakdown. I didn't go through it with too much detail. It's because of obviously the Mayweather McGregor thing came up, and that is obviously the biggest sort of news in the planet at the moment on the fighting sort of aspect of things. But also mainly because the card isn't actually, I don't think there's too much to break down. I think the people that I've chosen to win, Holm, Dos Anjos, and Kim, well, Holm and Dos Anjos more specifically, I think they're going to win relatively comfortably. If they lose, it'll be shocking and anything can happen. But I don't think it needs an actual full breakdown into each fighter's sort of stats and what they do well, what they don't do well, all that sort of thing. I'll reserve that for the big cards because those are normally the longer videos, and I'm sure you guys don't enjoy watching these long UFC videos. I know you like the Dragon Ball content. So stay tuned for much, much more, especially the reviews. The review of this fight coming up soon. Any more McGregor Mayweather talk, I shall keep you all updated. Dragon Ball Super reviews coming soon, and obviously check out my subscriber choice challenge. Write down who you want me to be next time on that video specifically, please. And also Monday, I have my online ranked random battles coming out soon. As I mentioned, I will keep you all updated whatever fighting news comes out. If anything good does come out, especially the McGregor Mayweather, because it's going to take over the world, this fight, when it does happen, August 26th. So everyone, make sure you tune into that, because I know sure as hell I'll be doing breakdowns, previews, everything for that as well. So as always, guys, I've been LordKing. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Please like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye.